Prostitution. It's known as the world's oldest profession, yet in the United States of America, it's been demonized and pushed to the unregulated underground. There's a whole criminal culture that has evolved around the profession of prostitution in our country, and has led to a severe sucking up on society from these criminal elements. However, I believe it would be a major benefit to society to legalize this profession for a number of reasons. These include severe government cost decreases, significant tax benefits, and increased protection of the disadvantaged workers of this trade. However, before we delve into that, it's important to get a look at the face of prostitution today. According to the Prostitute Education Network, an estimated 1 million Americans are currently involved in prostitution, although that number is purely guesswork because it's so underground and hard to trace that's impossible to put a finger on the exact number. Of these 1 million Americans, 70% are women and 30% are men. So we can see that women are a little more highly affected by this issue than men are. Also, it's important to note that it's basically prevalent everywhere. That in almost every major metropolis, prostitution is a problem and a reality. The first major benefit is the cost benefit. And then over a number of years in the 1990s, San Francisco municipal government assigned a task force to study the cost of enforcing prostitution laws. At the end of the decade, they came back with a number of very interesting finds. First of all, they found that it cost $312,000 per year just to process the prostitution arrest that their vice squad made. Also, it cost them $500,000 a year in providing public defenders that would defend these people once their cases actually came to trial. Also, they calculated that it cost them $985,000 per year to incarcerate those arrested and convicted on prostitution charges over a year. When they actually added, these are some major costs, but there are a number of other costs that went into this as well. And they came up with a number of over $7 million per year between paying vice squads and processing all different kinds of arrests between customers and prostitutes themselves. Another interesting benefit of legalizing prostitution is the tax benefit that we could have. There's already significant precedent for this because, as you all probably know, in Nevada, prostitution is legal. Prostitution is already legal in some parts of Nevada. There are brothels operating in 8 counties of Nevada, none of which actually include any major metro area. And just these 8 rural counties that have brothels bring in $10 million of revenue each year to the state of Nevada between licensing fees and heavy taxation which they are subject to. If we think about this on a broader scale, the $10 million that it makes Nevada extended over 50 states mean hundreds of millions of dollars. In a time of such economic hardship and deficit spending, it seems like any such large source of revenue such as this would be impossible to turn down. This directly affects us because we're the generation that's going to have to deal with these growing budget deficits and rising tax rates. This could help alleviate some of that. Lastly, and probably most importantly, is the protection that we can provide sex workers by legalizing prostitution. Whether we like it or not, whether we find it morally palatable or not, the prostitution industry is going to exist in America. The question is whether we're going to choose to regulate it and oversee it, or let it continue to operate in the shadows. I believe that by regulating it and having it under government control, this takes power away from organized crime, away from drug lords, and puts it in the hands of a responsible government. Also, it protects the workers themselves from the violence and harm's way they put themselves in every single day by going out and roaming the streets. Also, it similarly protects prostitutes and customers from disease. The spreading of STDs and STIs is a serious problem in our country, and by putting in testing measures, we could severely curb that problem. And lastly, whether we like it or not, there's also a fairly significant slave trade that goes on within our own country. There are lots of documented cases of foreign people being brought in under false pretenses and essentially being imprisoned and forced to be sex workers. With regulation, we could stop all these problems. Now, it is important to quickly address the moral issues that surround this, that the opponents cite as the main problems. First of all, let's consider that sex in itself is not illegal. So it would also be logical that why should money changing hands change this from being a legal act to a illegal act? Also, we have the largest porn industry in the entire world, and so and why is that okay? Why society as a whole accepted that as something that exists, even if it's not nice? But prostitution is illegal. It doesn't make any sense. I believe that legalizing prostitution is the right thing to do because of the cost and tax benefit, the human rights protections it will afford. I encourage you all to write your congressman and support legalizing prostitution because it's just the right thing to do. Thank you.